I made a pact with my mortal enemy, but he turned out to be my soulmate in disguise. My fingers trembled as I gripped the ancient spellbook, my eyes fixed not on the words, but on the tall, raven-haired boy standing across the Academy Grand Hall. Felix Blackthorne. Seduce him, gain his trust, steal the grimoire. Simple. Except nothing was simple about Felix Blackthorne. "You're staring again," whispered Lily, my fellow coven member, her voice laced with amusement. The elders said, "Seduce him." I forced myself to look down. "I'm formulating a plan." "For 3 weeks?" Lily raised an eyebrow. "The Blackthorne grimoire isn't going to steal itself." After a few minutes, before I could respond, a hush fell over as Head Mistress Ravencroft arrived in the hall. "The annual dueling tournament will commence tomorrow," she announced. "You have today for practice sessions and preparation. Choose your partners wisely." Students began pairing off immediately, the air buzzed with anticipation and nervous energy. I saw my opportunity and stood, gathering my courage as I moved towards Felix, who remained aloof at the edge of the crowd. "Partner?" I asked, extending my hand, infusing the simple words with a touch of charm magic, my speciality. Felix's ice blue eyes narrowed, studying me. I wondered if my magical manipulation had been detected. After an excruciating moment, he nodded once, his expression unreadable. "Ground rules," he said, his voice deeper than I expected. "No blood magic, no mind manipulation." I raised an eyebrow. "Standard tournament rules? I'm not a barbarian." The ghost of a smile touched his lips. "We'll see." We took our positions in one of the practice circles. Around us, other pairs begin their duels. I rolled up my sleeve, revealing the intricate runic tattoos that wound around my forearm. Enhancements for my charm and illusion magic. Felix stood there perfectly still, no visible preparation. The confidence was either admirable or foolish. "Begin," called the practice proctor. I moved first, weaving an intricate pattern in the air, spiraling towards Felix. A simple test, a minor disorientation spell. Felix deflected it with a casual flick of his wrist. "Is that all you have to offer?" Felix's voice carried no mockery, only genuine curiosity. Something inside me sparked at the challenge. I abandoned my plan, approached, and channeled my magic into a more complex attack. The duel escalated quickly. What should have been a practice session transformed into a spectacular display. My charm magic twisted and morphed, but Felix countered, each with precision and power. As the duel intensified, I felt something strange. A pull, a resonance between my magic and Felix's. It was like nothing I had experienced before, as if our powers were calling to each other. In a moment of distraction, Felix cast a spell I'd never seen. I instinctively countered with my strongest protection charm. Our spells collided in midair with a deafening crack. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a spectacular explosion of light erupted between us, sending shockwaves across the hall. Everyone in the hall froze, watching as the swirling lights encircled both Felix and me before slowly absorbing into our skin. Felix stared at me, his usual impassive face showing genuine shock. "What did you do?" he whispered. "Me? I was defending against whatever forbidden magic you just used," I retorted, though uncertainty crept into my voice. Headmistress Ravencroft appeared beside us. Her expression gave, "Both of you, my office, now." 3 days after the incident, I stood before the elders of the coven in the hidden chamber beneath the academy. "The magical resonance display between you and Blackthorne has attracted unwanted attention," said Elder Moria, her face creased with displeasure. "I don't know what happened," I admitted. "Our magics just connected." "Of course they did," Elder Thorne said with a dismissive wave. "The Blackthorne bloodline has always had unusual compatibility with their own. It's one of the reasons we selected you for this mission." Elder Moria leaned forward, The Blackthorne family grimoire contains spells and secrets helpful in our conflict with the demon court. You must get close to Felix and locate the grimoire quickly." "I've been trying," I said, frustration seeping into my voice. "He's not exactly open to friendship." "Then try harder," Elder Thorne snapped. "Your charm magic is the strongest we've seen in generations. Use it." Elder Moria's voice softened slightly. The incident in the hall may have actually helped. Felix will be curious about what happened between your magics. Use that curiosity. I nodded, though something about the mission had begun to feel wrong. The magical connection with Felix had been intimate. Somehow, using it as a manipulation tactic left a bitter taste in my mouth. "There's something else you should know," Elder Moria added. "The Blackthorns are not what they seem. Their power comes from darker sources. Be cautious. Get close enough to find the grimoire. But guard your heart and mind." As I left the meeting, my thoughts were a chaotic swirl. I needed to create an accidental encounter with Felix. The Forbidden Archives. Felix was known to spend hours there, researching obscure magic theories. The next morning, I prepared carefully. After all the preparation, I made my way to the archives, timing my arrival for when I knew Felix would already be there. The Forbidden Archives lived up to their names. Rows upon rows of dangerous, knowledgeable books housed in a room. I spotted Felix at the scheduled table. Taking a deep breath, I approached deliberately, catching my foot on the edge of the nearby shelf. I stumbled forward, sending my coffee flying directly onto the open book before Felix. "Gods! I'm so sorry!" I exclaimed, genuine horror in my voice as the dark liquid spread across what was clearly a rare text. I expected anger, perhaps even a retaliatory spell. Instead, Felix, with inhuman speed and magic, froze the coffee mid-air and reversed its flow. Perhaps the Forbidden Archives isn't the best place for refreshments. His tone surprisingly mild. I stared, both at the display of magic and the lack of anger. "I'm sorry. I can be clumsy sometimes." This was a blatant lie. I moved with the grace of a dancer, and everyone knew. A flicker of amusement crossed Felix's face. "We both know that's not truth, Carter." I felt my cheeks warm. "You know who I am?" "Everyone knows who you are," Felix replied. "Charm specialist. And," he paused, studying me with those eyes, "and the only person whose magic ever synchronized with mine." The directness caught me off guard. About that, I've been researching what happened, but haven't found anything similar in the records." "Nor have I," Felix admitted, gesturing to the books surrounding him. "Which is concerning." I seized the opening. "Maybe we should research it together." Felix seemed to consider this, his expression guarded. Finally, he nodded. "I'm working on identifying what may have happened. Your charm expertise could be useful." It was more than I'd hoped for. "When do we start?" "Tonight. Midnight." Felix returned to his book. A clear dismissal. As I turned to leave, Felix spoke again without looking up. "Then Carter, bring your own coffee next time. That blend was subpar." I smiled to myself as I walked away. Phase 1 complete. After a few weeks, the midnight study session became a regular occurrence over the next few weeks. What began as research evolved into something more. To my surprise, Felix was a patient teacher, explaining complex theories with unexpected clarity. Even more surprising, I found myself genuinely enjoying Felix's company. During our 5th session, we worked on a particularly challenging magic. As we both reached for the same crystal, our fingers brushed. Visible energy crackled between us. Felix didn't pull away immediately. Instead, he watched me with fascination. "It's getting stronger," he murmured. I nodded, aware of the warmth of Felix's hand beneath my own. "What do you think it means?" "I don't know," Felix admitted, finally withdrawing his hand. But it's not unpleasant. The simple statement hung in the air between us, changing something in our dynamic. I realize the connection between us felt right somehow. This was dangerous territory. I reminded myself of my mission, of the coven's expectations. But as the night progressed, as I watched Felix work, I found it increasingly difficult to think of him as merely a target. When Felix walked me back to my dormitory wing, a curiosity, a curtsy I hadn't expected, I made a split-second decision. Would you like to come in for a moment? I have a few notes that might be of help. Felix hesitated, then nodded. My room reflected my personality. Organized chaos, with books and magical things arranged in a way only I understood. It's very you, Felix commented, looking around with interest. I'll take that as a compliment, I replied, searching my bookshelf. Make yourself comfortable. When I turned back with the book, I found Felix examining the protection sigil I'd carved into my doorframe. Standard coven security measures. These are interesting, Felix said, but they have a weakness against certain types of energy intrusion. Without asking permission, Felix placed his palm against the wood and murmured something in a language I didn't recognize. The sigil glowed briefly. There, Felix said. That should have provided better protection. I stared at the modified sigil, recognizing they were very complicated for anyone to master. Where did you learn that? Felix's expression closed off. Family traditions. The book. I handed over the text, my curiosity about Felix growing. What other secrets was he hiding? After a week, the answer came sooner than expected. The following week, during a particular magic session, I attempted a difficult transformation spell. Something went wrong. My concentration slipped, and the spell backfired spectacularly. I saw the magical energy swirling back towards my face, knowing it would leave a permanent scar if it hit. Before I could react, Felix was there, moving faster than humanly possible. He threw himself between me and the backfiring spell, absorbing all the magical energy into his own body, with a pained grunt. The class fell silent as Felix straightened, his eyes briefly flashing a luminous crimson, before returning back to their usual blue. The professor hurried over, but Felix waved him off. I'm fine, he insisted. Carter needs to work on his focus. Later, when I cornered him in an empty corridor, Felix refused to explain what happened. You couldn't have moved that fast, I pressed. In your eyes! Drop it, Ash, Felix warned, using my first name for the first time. Some questions are dangerous to ask. You could have been hurt because of me. Something softened in Felix's expression. But I wasn't. Why would you risk it? I asked, genuinely confused. Felix studied me for a long time. Perhaps I've grown accustomed to your company. He finally said, his voice low. The academy would be less interesting without you in it. The admission, small as it was, sent warmth spreading through my chest. This wasn't going according to plan. I was supposed to be the one seducing Felix, not developing genuine feelings for him. That night, I reported to the coven elders, carefully editing my progress to hide my growing attachment. Yes, I was getting closer to Felix. No, I hadn't located the grimoire yet. Yes, I would continue to gain his trust. Each lie felt heavier than the last. After a few months, the breaking point came when we were exploring the Academy's abandoned chambers. Felix had suggested we might find answers about our magical connection in these ancient runes carved into the floor of these forgotten spaces. What began as an academic research developed into a heated argument when Felix discovered a book on demon binding in my bag, which the coven elders had given me for some reason, unknowing even to me. Why are you carrying this? Felix demanded, with barely contained fury. It's just research, I lied. Don't lie to me, Felix growled, and for a moment something shifted in his features. This specific text is used for hunting and capturing demons. Why do you have it? Guilt and frustration boiled over inside me. Why do you care, Felix? What are you hiding that no one should know? And why are you so interested? Felix countered, stepping closer. Is it curiosity or something else? The accusation hit me too close. My magic responded to my emotional state. Charm energy crackling visibly around my hands. Felix's own magic rose in response, darker, deeper. You want to know what I am? Felix shouted, his control slipping. Is this what all this has been about? Her magics coiled again, more violently this time. The energy crashed, activating the runes carved into the floor as it began to glow. I felt something shift in the magic around us. Between us, the air swirled, forming glowing scripts that hovered at eye level. What is that? I gasped, my anger forgotten. Felix's face had gone pale. We've activated a binding ritual. The glowing scripts expanded, revealing complex magical terms that I could barely comprehend. Words like eternal, soul, and unbreakable jumped out at me. Stop it! I cried, attempting to disrupt the magic with a counterspell. Don't! Felix warned. But it was too late. My counterspell hit the contract, and it was absorbed into it, causing the glowing script to pulse brighter. The letters rearranged themselves, and with a final flash of light, the contract split into two identical scrolls that floated before each of us. What happens now? I asked, afraid to touch the scrolls hovering before me. Felix's expression was grim. We've been offered a choice. Accept or reject the bond that's forming between us. Our magics have already begun to intertwine. Rejecting it now would be painful, possibly fatal. I stared at the contract, then Felix. What exactly would this bind us to? Felix hesitated, then spoke softly. Each other, in every way that matters. The implication hung heavy between us. This is far beyond what I had prepared for. Beyond seduction. Beyond my mission. Beyond anything I'd imagine. I can't, I whispered, thinking of my coven, my loyalty, my duty. Pain flashed across Felix's face, quickly masked. I understand. But Felix reached out to reject his own contract. The chamber door burst open. A dark, smoky entity flowed into the room. Something neither human nor animal. Its form constantly shifting and withering. Felix Blackthorne. It hissed in a voice like grinding stone. The prince returns. Felix's face transformed with shock and fear. How? The entity lunged towards Felix with supernatural speed. Without thinking, I threw myself forward, placing my palm against the floating contract before me. I accept! I shouted. Across from me, Felix's eyes widened in surprise. But then he followed suit, pressing his hand against his own contract. I accept, he echoed. The scrolls dissolving into our skin, and a shockwave of combined magic erupted from both of us. The dark entity was thrown against the wall, momentarily stunned. I felt Felix's presence in my mind immediately. Emotions, sensations, fragments of thought floating between us. The connection was overwhelming. Intimate, in a way that transcended the physical. What have you done? Felix gasped, staring at me with a mixture of wonder and horror. Save your life, apparently, I replied, then gestured towards the recovering entity. What is that thing? Why did it call you Prince? Before Felix could answer, the entity attacked again. Placing himself between me and the threat, his own hands wove complex patterns in the air. The entity shrieked as Felix's magic tore through it, dissolving its smoky form into nothingness. In the aftermath, Felix stood panting, his glamour momentarily dropped. I stared at the transformed figure before me. Felix's skin had taken a faint crimson undertone. His eyes glowed like embers, and the small horns protruding from his forehead, nearly hidden by his dark hair. Most striking were the shadows that seemed to move on their own accord around him, responding to his emotions. "You're a demon," I whispered, the pieces finally falling into place. Felix's shoulders slumped as his appearance gradually returned to normal. "Half demon," he corrected quickly. "My mother was human." My mind raced, processing this revelation against everything I've been taught. The Blackthorne family's mysterious power, the ancient grimoire, Felix's unusual abilities. It all made terrible sense. "And how exactly have you been able to join the academy?" I asked, the confusion getting clearer. "Yes, I've been pretending to be a normal human with high magic potential, hiding my true self. My mother knew that I wouldn't be safe otherwise," Felix said, sadness lacing his voice. "And the contract we just signed?" I said slowly. "What exactly is it?" "A demonic love pact, unbreakable without fatal consequences to both parties." The weight of the words hit me like a physical blow. "Love?" "The ritual responds to the true nature of the connection between the participants," Felix explained. "It wouldn't have offered us a love pact if there wasn't something real between us." I felt dizzy with the implication. "My coven sent me to seduce you," I confess, the words tumbling out, "to find your family's grimoire. They said it could turn the tide in our conflict against the demons." Instead of anger, understanding dawned on Felix's face. And my father sent that hunter to bring me back to the demon realm. The conflict might escalate soon. Both sides. "Your father?" "The Demon King," Felix said bitterly. "He needs my half-human blood for the world domination spell. It's why I've been hiding at the academy." I sank to the floor, my back against the cold stone wall. This is insane. I'm soul-bound to the Demon Prince. Felix knelt beside me, and I'm bound to a witch who was sent to betray me. Yet, here we are. Through our new connection, I could feel Felix's sincerity, and beneath it, a lifetime of loneliness and fear that mirrored my own in many ways. Despite everything, I found myself reaching for Felix's hand. "What happens now?" I asked. Felix's fingers intertwined with mine. Now we figure out how to survive. A few weeks later, the weeks that followed were a dangerous dance of secrets and revelations. The bonds between us grew stronger daily, allowing us to sense each other's emotions and locations at all times. Privacy became a foreign concept. With it came intimacy neither of us had experienced before. My coven discovered the bond and reacted exactly as I'd feared, with ultimatums and threats. My mission parameters changed. Steal the grimoire, kill Felix, break the bond no matter the personal cost. Meanwhile, Felix received increasingly threatening messages from the demon realm. His father's patience was wearing thin, and more hunters were being sent to retrieve him. "We need to leave the academy," Felix said one night as we sat in my room. "It's not safe anymore." I looked up from the ancient text I was studying, one of many we've been combing through for solutions. Where would we go? Your father rules the demon realm, and my coven has connections throughout the magical world. "There's something I haven't told you," Felix admitted. "About the grimoire everyone's so desperate to find." I set down my book. "I'm listening." "It's not just a spell book. It's a key to defeating my father," Felix explained. "My mother created it before she died, a half-human witch who understood both worlds. She encoded secrets about demon weaknesses, gateway sealing, and power transference." "And you've had it all this time?" Felix shook his head. "No, not exactly. I am the grimoire, Ash." I stared at him in confusion. The knowledge is encoded in my blood, in my very essence. Felix continued. My mother hid it to protect it from my father. The only way to access is through willing blood sacrifice. My choice, my offering. That's why everyone wants you, I realized. Not just for your half-human nature, but for the knowledge you carry. Felix nodded. And now, because of our bond, that knowledge is particularly accessible to you as well. Have you been having strange dreams? I had. Vivid dreams of a world bathed in crimson light. I thought they were just bled through from your mind, I said. They're memory fragments of the grimoire, Felix explained. And there's something else you should know. He hesitated. I've seen your bloodline in my dreams. Your witch ancestors have demon blood. Distant, deluded, but present. The revelation should have horrified me, but instead, a strange sense of recognition washed over me. It explained my powerful connection between our magics, the ease with which we bonded. So I'm part demon too, I said slowly. No wonder the coven selected me for this mission. I doubt they knew. I don't think they knew that much about your past ancestors. The reason that they might have chosen you was because of your charm magic, Felix replied. And either way, the knowledge was hidden centuries ago, when the divide between witches and demons first formed. A thought occurred to me. Is that why we're being hunted by that shadow entity? Felix's expression darkened. No, that's my father's shadow self, a projection he sends ahead before his physical arrival. It feeds on soul bonds to weaken them. Your father is coming here, to the academy. The blood moon is in 3 days, Felix confirmed. He might use it to break through the barriers between realms. I stood pacing the small room. Then we have 3 days to prepare? Felix caught my hand, stopping me. Prepare for what? To run? To fight the Demon King himself? I looked down at our joined hands. I could feel Felix's fear, his resignation, his desperate desire to protect me, even at the cost of his own freedom. To end this war, I said firmly. Your mother created the grimoire to defeat your father. You carry that knowledge. I'm connected to you. Together, we might have a chance. Felix stood, bringing us face to face. It would be dangerous, possibly suicidal. More dangerous than living our lives on the run? I counted. At least this way, we choose our fate. Something shifted in Felix's expression. He reached up to touch my face, his fingers tracing the curve of my jaw. You continue to surprise me, Ash Carter, he murmured. The tension between us had been building for weeks, and in that moment, it crested like a wave. I leaned forward, closing the distance between us. Our lips met just as lightning flashed. Our bond flared between us, what began as a gentle kiss, quickly deepened into something hungry and desperate. Years of loneliness and fear melting away in the heat of our connection. When we finally broke apart, both of us were breathing heavily. Around us, the darkness was absolute, except for the soft glow emanating from our skin. Around us, the darkness was absolute, except for the soft glow emanating from our skin where we touched. That was, I began. Magical? Felix suggested, with a rare smile. I laughed, literally. As we stood together in the darkness, our foreheads touching, I made a silent promise to myself. Whatever came next, Demon King, Coven Elders or worse, I would protect this newfound bond. Some things were worth fighting for, worth dying for. And Felix Blackthorne, against all odds, I became one of them. After 3 days, the night of the blood moon arrived. Felix and I had spent the intervening days in a feverish preparation, combing witchcraft and demon magic in ways that have never been attempted. Our plan was dangerous, complicated, and relied heavily on the partial grimoire knowledge Felix had been able to access through our bond. As the moon rose, we stood together in the center of the grand hall, emptying the crowd with a magical warning. No one knew that the Demon King was coming, and we knew that it was better to keep it a secret. "Are you ready?" Felix said, his fingers intertwined with mine. I nodded, though fear coursed through me. We began the ritual we designed. Just as the barrier rose, the Demon King emerged like a nightmare. The Demon King's voice reverberated through the hall. "How touching. You've prepared a welcome for me." Felix stepped forward. His glamour dropped completely now, revealing his true half-demon form. "Father, you are not welcome here." "And yet, here I stand." Demon King's gaze shifted to me, eyes narrowing. "You've bonded yourself to a witch." How disappointing, though I sense something familiar in this one. "You'll sense nothing else in a moment," I replied, channeling my magic through the bond. We launched our attack simultaneously, Felix's demonic energy merging with my witchcraft in a blast of combined power. The Demon King staggered back a step, momentarily surprised by the strength of our assault. Then he smiled. "Interesting." His eyes gleamed with cruel amusement. The battle that followed was catastrophic. The Demon King's power was unlike anything I had ever faced. The Academy's east wing collapsed. Through our bond, I could feel Felix's desperation growing. "We need to try the binding spell," Felix gasped. The binding spell was the riskiest part of our plan. A ritual from Felix's mother's grimoire designed to seal away the demon's power. "It could kill us both," I warned, blood trickling from the cut above my eye. "If we don't try, he'll kill everyone," Felix replied. His hand found mine, squeezing tightly. We began the incantation. The Demon King realized what we were attempting. He lunged forward with a roar of rage. Felix pushed me aside at the last moment, taking the full brunt of the attack. He fell to his knees with a choked gasp. "Felix!" I screamed, catching him as he collapsed. "Finish it," Felix whispered. Blood stained his lips. "Finish the spell." I felt Felix's life force embedding through our bond. The binding spell needed blood of the same line. Cradling Felix with one arm, I sliced my own palm with the ritual dagger. I pressed the bleeding wound to Felix's chest, directly over the shadowy wound. "What are you doing?" the Demon King demanded, suddenly wary. "You'll see," I replied. Instead of directing the spell solely at the Demon King, I wove Felix into it as well. The spell transformed under my will. The magic erupted from our joined bodies, engulfing the Demon King simultaneously. Felix, through our bond, healed the shadowy wound. The Demon King howled at his power, not sealed away but transformed. Felix gasped, his eyes flying open as my magic revived him. Felix was no longer half demon and half human. Neither was I fully witch. We had become something balanced between all our bloodlines. The Demon King, now just a man, stared at his hands in horror and wonder. "What have you done to me?" "Given you humanity," Felix said, rising shakily to his feet. After a few hours, as the dust settles in the ruins of the Academy's east wing, Felix and I stood together, our hands intertwined. The former Demon King, now merely a human, was being escorted away by the Council of Mages. We had decided to tell the Council, since now we knew that the Demon King could do no harm to us. "Do you regret it?" Felix said softly. His eyes. I touched the mark on my palm, twin to the one on Felix's chest. Not for a moment. The elder of my coven approached curiously, their expression a mixture of awe and uncertainty. Elder Moria stepped forward. "What you and Blackthorne have become," she began, "is something new." I finished for her. "Neither demon nor witch, but a balance between. Elder Moria still looked at me in confusion. The binding pact acted as we used our energies to the maximum extent. The pact was what kept us together, and now it has granted us powers to become a hybrid. Felix and I share both the powers of a witch and demon now as a result. Elder Moria's eyes widened, but she simply nodded. Felix squeezed my hand. "The war ends here," he declared. "With a bridge instead of a divide." I knew with perfect clarity that what had begun as deception had transformed into something true and unbreakable. A love powerful enough to rewrite the ancient enmity between our worlds. 1 year later, as the sun set over the Academy's rebuilt eastern wing, I sat beside Felix on our favorite rooftop, watching the sky, our hands intertwined, the matchmaking marks on our palms, a constant reminder of how far we'd come. "If I keep thinking about how all this started," I said softly, "me with a mission to steal your grimoire, and you hiding your true nature from everyone." Felix smiled. Those genuine smiles still had made my heart skip. The universe had a strange sense of humor. I leaned against his shoulder, feeling the steady pulse of our bond. "Do you think your mother somehow knew this would happen? That the grimoire's knowledge would one day unite the worlds instead of being used as a weapon?" "I'd like to believe she did," Felix replied, his voice thoughtful. "She'd always told me my human half wasn't a weakness, but a gift." Below us, we saw witches and former demons working side by side. The peace was fragile, centuries of hatred not easily forgotten, but it was a beginning. "We have a long road ahead," I said, watching a young witch help a former demon master a simple levitation spell. Felix turned to face me, his eyes, now permanently, flickered with both blue and crimson, searching mine. "But we'll walk it together." I smiled, remembering the cold boy who deflected my disorientation spell with a casual flick of his wrist, and the person I'd become since then, stronger, braver, and finally, whole. "Together," I agreed, sealing the promise with a kiss that still sparked magic between us, always together. The end. Would you ever defy all the rules for love? Thank you for watching. Subscribe to become a part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. And stay wholesome.